love Destructoid for how like punk rock it is. I mean, it's the Rebel Alliance of games journalism. Like he's just sort of like, I'm gonna make a website that's got a robot on it, and we talk about what we feel like talking about. You know.
All right, so I just want to say thanks, thanks again for for doing this interview with me, Max. I definitely appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. And so the first question I have for you here is, it's a little known fact that you were born in France. What do you remember of your time living there, and have you ever gone back?
I have never gone back. I'd like to. I think there's other places in Europe I'd rather go, but I don't really remember a whole lot. I left there when I was like maybe a year old. I was like 10 months, I think. So I remember maybe crawling on a carpet, if that. I might have just kind of pieced that together from photos, but yeah, I wasn't there for too long. That was in my bio for my Revision 3 host profile or something, and that was, I think my girlfriend wrote that and put that.
That's where I found it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's I mean, I'm an American. I have a piece of paper that says it.
Yeah, you got your green card.
Yeah.
You studied painting and drawing while in school. What were your original plans in doing that?
There weren't a whole lot of them. I didn't really think that one through a whole lot. I've always been kind of a creative kid. I drew a lot, did a lot of art when I was younger, and I went from community college where I was studying painting and drawing and kind of doing general ed stuff, and then I transferred to the San Francisco Art Institute, which is a very fancy, very hard art school. Like there's like paintings by Diego Rivera on the walls, and there's just like murals, and it's like all a bunch of famous painters went there. And nowadays they haven't really caught on with the whole idea of it's kind of hard to make a living doing art, and it costs a lot of money to go to school for it. So I did that for a year, and basically realized I hated it because they didn't have a proper illustration program, and I wanted to do illustration because I like pictures that tell stories. I probably would have tried to get into doing video game concept art or something like that.
I think you should probably like to go into illustration for like a game, like some like mobile game or something.
A couple friends of mine were doing a game, and it was, that's the thing is with art school is you don't really need to go to school to do it. It's a thing that I've been doing my whole life, and it's like you learn a lot. You can learn a lot going to school for it, but like it's not like being a doctor. If
Right.
if your friend's bleeding out the neck and they're like, I'm hemorrhaging, like I need help, cut it open. You can't be like, oh, I really like medicine, I'm gonna jump in there and do that. Like,
Right.
you would kill him. But with art, it's like if your friend's like, I'm making an iPhone game and I need somebody to draw spaceships, that actually can work. I jumped in there and I was like, I'll draw some spaceships. So I do graphic design stuff for my job. Like all the YouTube thumbnails you see on Rev3Games are Max Scoville originals.
Oh.
Not all of them, but the good ones. The ones that are shitty that probably were done by my boss or something. But
Yeah, and also of course like the little drawings they have on the Detroit show desk.
of course, yeah, those are mine. We've been doing that for like years now, and the drawing thing, and I forget pretty much every time that I'm supposed to draw something until we get up in the studio, and then there's a piece of paper sitting there, and I'm just like, ah. So I'm like, dogs, a pie. I don't like. I'll just write like a swear word and then draw a turd next to it or something. But
Right. Yeah.
that's where an art degree will get you, kids.
How did you get your start with Revision 3 Games? And also, what is a normal day like working with the likes of Adam Sessler and Tara Lane?
So I got my start at Revision 3 because after working on this iPhone game with my buddy back in like Santa Cruz, I moved up to San Francisco. I'd been going to school in San Francisco. It's a long, convoluted story, but I was living on my friend's couch in Santa Cruz being a layabout and drawing spaceships for an iPhone game. And I met my girlfriend, who I'm still with, and she just graduated college, and she was going to be going to grad school in San Francisco, which she just graduated from. And basically she was like, we kind of have like a summer fling type of thing. And then she's like, well, I'm moving to San Francisco now. And I was like, but wait, I like you. And Santa Cruz is like an hour from San Francisco. So I was like, fuck it. I got friends who live there. So I like kind of tagged along and was like, well, I better get back on pursuing things that I'm interested in. And I'd done an internship on what would have been an IGN TV show, years ago.
Was that the current TV?
Yes, that was on current TV with who I did with Scott Bromley, who now works at Revision 3, and who I do the Comedy Button podcast with. And so I basically started following up with all the video game connections I'd made, which was like 4 people, and they were all like, "No, you can't have a job." And then I was trawling like Craigslist looking for jobs. I worked as a telemarketer briefly, just to try and make rent. I didn't even have an apartment. It was like I need to make money to theoretically pay rent at some point. Yeah, but I wound up seeing a post on Destructoid that they said they were hiring for a movie site, and I was like, well, games isn't really seem to be doing so hot for me. Maybe I can write about movies. I love movies. Like I know a ton about that. So I sent in a writing sample, and a friend of mine who I knew from community college had been a previews writer for Destructoid, and so I hadn't talked to him in years. So I messaged him on Facebook, and I'm like, "Hi Ben, I know we don't talk much, but could you put in a good word for me?" And he's like, he texts me, like I didn't even know I had his number, and he texts me that like an hour later, and he goes, "Meet me at this bar tonight. I got to talk to you about something." And I'm like,
it's like a detective movie.
Yeah, I was like, okay. So we meet at this, and I'm like, can I bring my girlfriend? He's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I'm like, okay. And so we show up at this bar, and he comes and meets me, and he's like, Destructoid's doing a TV show. I think you should.
Word on the street is.
Yeah. And I'm just like, he's all like super hush-hush about it. I'm just like, okay. And he tells me about the Destructoid thing, and I get together like a little hosting reel, and I think it was a demo video of me being like from the however much of Red Dead Redemption I'd had a chance to play on my friend's Xbox because I was sleeping on his couch. I did like a sort of review of Red Dead Redemption. I was like, well, it's cool. You can ride a horse, and there's prostitutes who you can lasso and throw them down the stairs. I give it a 5 out of 5, And then so I sent that in, and I didn't hear anything for a second. And then it turns out that they'd already hired Jonathan Holmes to host the Destructoid show. And so I was like, well, what can I do? And they're like, well, why don't you do video stuff for us on the side? And I was like, okay. And we meet up one night. It was a Need for Speed Hot Pursuit event, and it was like my first video game event I'd ever been to. And I was like, what they've got like Del the Funky Homo Sapien is there. There's like booth babes. There's like sports cars outside. It's at a nightclub, and it's super loud. And all yeah, exactly. And I show up, and I'm like, so what do you guys want me to do? And Hamza Aziz from Destructoid, he just hands me a backpack with a laptop and a camera in it and just goes, here, go make a video. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I like somehow managed to turn that into a video, and I did a few more of those. I went on a couple random like preview event trips. And I've been writing previews on the side too. I mean, I know how to write things as well as have nice hair. So that worked well for me. And then
on your resume, like, I have nice hair. I also know how to write things.
Exactly. I've written several words before. These are some of them that you are reading right now. Anyway, so I get a call from Nero, the head of Destructoid. At one point, he's like, "Hey, Holmes wants to go back to Boston. Do you want to host the Destructoid show?" And I was like, "Okay." Kids said so many mean things about me at first. They were like, who is this asshole? His hair is too nice. We can't trust him. Where's Holmes? Bring back Holmes. And I did that for, like a year, I guess. And then around that time, we started up Rev3Games. And then a few months after that, they were like, hey, would you like an actual job for reals? And I was like, okay. And then the rest is history. I've been here doing this and coming to work every day and sitting at a desk and talking about computer games on the internet. So there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we have this weird little kind of little corner, which is the games corner, and it's me and Tara and our producer Zach and Adam, and we all kind of sit there and wear headphones and go on the internet and type things, and occasionally one of us will like chime in with something we've noticed, or will chuckle to themselves. Adam frequently, the great Adam Sessler is. He gets very excited about stuff on the internet, which is really fun because he'll just be like, "Oh my god," and then he'll like turn around and he'll be like, "Did you see this?" And we'll all have a discussion about, how Nintendo can't sell the Wii U or something, or crime or politics or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, working with Adam has been really, really amazing. I mean, it's one of those things where if you told me that, like, I'd be sitting next to Adam Sessler a few years ago, I would go, why? Like, what, how? What makes that happen? And it was kind of,
It was like a surprise to like everyone, really. I mean, like he was like gone for like so long, after like G4, like it was on the verge of collapse, really. And
yeah,
then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to Rev3Games now. Like, see you guys. Like, oh, okay, I guess you're
yeah.
on TV, sort of, not really, but
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because he was sort of courting everybody. Like he showed up on the Giant Bomb, the Bombcast, and he showed up
on game trailers, I
uh,
know.
yeah, on game trailers too. Yeah, no, he showed up on Up at Noon, Greg Miller and Brian Altano's show on IGN. A lot of people don't know this about Revision 3, but it is kind of a branch off of when when G4, when I guess it was whoever owned G4, whenever before G4 was formed, back when it was like ZDTV and Tech TV and
Like
stuff.
TV,
Revision 3 is kind of I don't know
the Spawn kind of.
yeah, it's I don't know, I guess the good twin or something. I don't know. Am I supposed to say? I'm probably not supposed to say that. I don't know. But it's
It's not PC, Max. Come
yeah.
on.
Everyone's like, wow, Adam Sessler's going Revision 3. Where'd that come from? And it's like really not that huge of a stretch. Like, I mean, it's a lot of familiar faces for him. So he went through that crazy that period where he was just on Twitter talking about like not having pants on.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing is if you don't have a job, you don't have to wear pants.
You are on a podcast called The Comedy Button with several other folks of various like gaming, tech, and pop culture backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
What mad science witchcraftery brought you guys together?
So that's a fun story, sort of, I guess. Scott Bromley is a friend of mine from, I guess I met him from Sonoma. We're from the same town, and I was dating his cousin, sort of, and
Awkward.
yep, and somehow, yeah, it's small town bullshit, and he met me, and he was the guy who actually got me my start in the video game industry. He got me my first internship with Current TV, like I said, and what happened was when he went to, after our show got canceled, he got pulled to IGN. He got started there. He got involved with the GameSpy debriefings. So he got involved with that, and it went from being kind of a pretty straightforward gaming podcast to just like this foul-mouthed kind of nerdy locker room type of thing. And then that was with Ryan Scott and Anthony Gallegos and Brian Altano. Then Scott got laid off from IGN, and it was sort of this weird, crazy, harebrained scheme of like, what if we made our own podcast? And so the Comedy Button was formed. The name The Comedy Button is not necessarily indicative of what the subject matter is. We get dark sometimes. I don't know. That's some joke. I think some inside joke that they thought up, and it also helps that it has comedy in the title.
Right.
Little trick there. Scott was pretty much just like he's like this guy, this Max Scoville right here. He's gonna fit right in. He's gonna get us the young teenage girls. They're gonna listen to our
Part
show.
of the plan.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Scott's good at kind of at plotting things out, and he's looking out for me, which is cool. And so we did this Kickstarter, and we wanted $6,000 to buy microphones and send people T-shirts, and we did all the math and all the stuff, and it was all like, if this many people do this, and we can do this and send these things to these people, and we raised $6,000 in like 3 hours or something, and then it kept going to I think $39,000, which was pretty much like the scene in Office Space where they put the decimal in the wrong place, and suddenly they have like $3 million, and they're like, what do we do? So we had that, and then we're just like, well, I guess we better do a podcast.
It's known that you have a certain fascination with raccoons.
Yes, I love this question.
Your favorite topic. What's the origin to this, to this fascination, essentially, and what are some of your favorite qualities of the raccoon?
Shit. There's probably an answer to that. No, like I just like, I guess I think they're funny. I think they're really funny animals. They look like, I mean, they're, okay, so in a nutshell, they, first of all, are basically tiny bears. Like, biologically speaking, they are, I think, of the distant relatives of the bear, but they're, like, really little.
Pretty much all like the way basically went into, like, the tail, more or less.
Yeah, they're just, like, just kind of bombling around. Like, they can stand up, and they can sort of, like, they'll eat meat and they'll eat vegetables. They like to eat whatever. They like to eat garbage. Yeah, that's the other thing is they eat garbage. I just feel like they look hungover. They either look hungover or like criminals, and they are pretty much teenagers. Like they'll get into anything that people have like laying around. They're just
You rapscallion.
They're always outsmarting the man. You know, you'll be like, I have this perfectly, like I've got all these locks on my doors and my windows all have like knobs and latches, and raccoons are like, we have hands. We're gonna get in there and eat your cat's food. Like sharks are like, I'm the ultimate predator, and raccoons are like, I'm fucking annoying.
You're like the Deadpool of like the animal kingdom, basically.
Kinda, yeah. I could see that. They just kind of get into places they shouldn't be, and it's just, you know, yeah.
Everything's starting to kind of make sense now for all of your interests. Like basically, it's all coming full circle.
Yeah. Annoying things that are good at being annoying. I don't know.
You might know this because I know you know like a lot of obscure things, and I'm like the obscure master among my friends. But do you happen to remember Happy Tree Friends?
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
Do you remember the raccoons there, Lifty and Shifty?
Oh god, I don't think I ever watched Happy Tree Friends, but I remember the keychains and the little dongles and things that they. I worked at Tower Records around that period when that was
that
big.
takes me back.
Yeah, they had a lot of Happy Tree Friends stuff that people weren't really interested in buying. That was in clearance for a while. I was thinking today about doing a show about raccoons and pop culture. I got my show Study Hall where I talk about different kind of pop culture related to certain things on a topic. But I'd love to be like, here are my favorite raccoons from pop culture.
There you go. You should do
Maybe
that.
for Guardians of the Galaxy or something. Be like, okay, speaking of Rocket Raccoon, here are other raccoons.
Yeah. There have been rumors that you may have Asperger's syndrome. Hence the name Max Burgers. I don't know if you heard about this, but is this true, basically?
No, I mean, how are those aren't rumors. I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think that as a diagnosis, that's an extremely tricky one. And shortly after that Max Burgers thing became a bit on the Comedy Button, it was sort of, we got a whole lot of emails about how Asperger's syndrome was actually taken out of the DSM-4 as a diagnosis. And I think that diagnoses are kind of a weird thing anyway. I think that having to pigeonhole a human being as a particular, like, you are this, it's like, that doesn't work. People are kind of a gradient. Like, people kind of exist in, you're made up of a lot of little tiny things that are stacked on top of each other to make a very unique thing.
Right.
And to try and be like, it says here in this book that you have this wrong with you, it's like, nah, I don't know if that's really the case.
I remember seeing that, and I started doing like some digging, and like there were actually like a good number of people on like different like forum, like just random forums, like on Destructoid or wherever else, and like just saying it's like, does he have Asperger's? Maybe, blah blah blah, and then like people are actually quoting from WebMD and like saying, well, he does exhibit this. Like,
yeah, I mean, if you really kind of look at it, like, Asperger's is really, I mean, I don't claim to be an expert on it, but I've done the same amount of research as anyone else says. It really is basically clinical nerdy. That's chronic nerdiness, you know. And I mean, I don't mean to offend anybody who is. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just it's putting all your you put all your points into intelligence and not really any into charisma, you know.
In RPG terms.
Yeah, exactly. That's an ironic way of describing it. But yeah, no, that always weirds me out that people like have debates about me on forums or like and it's like
it's kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah. I always love to jump into comments like on Reddit. Like people will be like, "This guy's a fucking idiot," and I'll be like, "Am I really?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, fine."
You should be like, I agree.
Yeah. I should just go into forums and start arguments about that would be getting weird. But
yeah. The last question I have for you here, Max, is considering that you're a huge fan of both Star Wars and Marvel, how would you see a battle between the two universes play out? Like in your head, scenario, boom, now.
The Imperial Navy could probably take it out for the most part. You know, you've got like a few exceptions, but I mean, they already had that. They got the Starjammers. The Starjammers are Star Wars in the Marvel universe. You know, that was 1978 or whatever. They were like, hey, the Star Wars comics were in the Marvel universe back in the day. Those old ones, the classic Star Wars.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is if you have a Death Star and you blow up Earth, you've taken care of a good chunk of the Marvel universe. I mean, shit, you do a Super Star Destroyer as a strafing run on New York City, you're taking care of a big chunk of the Marvel universe.
Mm.
I
Or
don't
if you
know.
get like Thanos involved with like the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah,
And,
that gets too. But then are you including like
like everything, even like Howard the
the
Duck or whatever. You
yeah
know, like
yeah? But then what happens when like the Yuzan Vong come in? Do they count, or are they expanded universe of expanded universe? Because it's it's
you know
it's a
what?
big.
I will.
I thought the,
I will allow
the
it.
question I thought you'd ask me was how do I feel about Star Wars and Marvel hopefully showing up at Disney Infinity? Like that's what I want. I want a sandbox game where you can be like Boba Fett and Deadpool, just running around like riding on speeder bikes and fighting Toy Story characters.
Do like a GTA 4 mod, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, yeah, Saints Row 4 has Boba Fett in it. I guess it's not embargoed. We just live streamed it, but yeah, I was pretty surprised by that. You can get a. He's got a jetpack that's got 2 rockets on it, so it's not quite a complete Boba Fett, but
Is it really Boba though, or
I mean it's. I mean,
parody, or?
I mean, it's parody, but yeah, Boba Fett's in Saints Row 4. I mean, they also have a whole bunch of Star Wars weapons, which is kind of awesome. So, yeah, that open world Boba Fett game we're never going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Saints Row 4. Boba Fett can run at the speed of light and beats up a bunch of prostitutes. Yeah.
You heard it here.
Yeah.